I'm AJ Bianco, host of Reflect Ed, a part of the Education Podcast Network. Just like the show you're listening to now, shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, there was the Hitech Podcast, and Josh got a lightsaber. Welcome to the Hitech Podcast, folks.
Oh, it's so
we're the
perfect.
Hitech Podcast. We talk about educational technology, we play with lightsabers, and we have a lot of fun doing it all at the same time. I am one of the hosts of the Hitech Podcast, Josh Swartz, and I'm joined by my co-host, other host, the man, the only, not the only, I was about to say the only, but there are other Illingworths. The DJ Willy Will. There we go. I don't know. I'm trying some stuff out.
No,
it didn't work? It didn't
That's
work?
just mean.
Okay, it's fine.
No.
That's my other host, Will. Hey, Will.
Hey, folks, I'm here. It's Will.
Yeah, that's all you need to know. Yeah, if you're listening to the audio right now,
This
and
is
you're
actually
not watching-
perfect.
yeah. If you're listening to the audio right now and you're not watching the video,
This
I have a lightsaber. That's it. That's all you needed to know.
is and it's beautiful and it's purple and it
It
shows.
makes sound. I can change the
it
colors.
has songs and sounds and
I can change the colors. It's great. Uh-oh. I broke
I
it.
love it.
It's flashing now. I don't know how to make it stop.
No.
Wait, I fixed it.
Now suddenly he's trying to call an airplane down.
Yeah, it's fine now. Now it's orange. Wow, this looks really intense.
It's gone
on
rogue,
video.
guys.
That's-
It's real. It's burning a hole in
that's
his floor.
fine. Okay, it's fine. There we go. It's all good now. Yeah. Whew. Okay, that's a good intro. I just had to do that. I gotta, Will and I. You may have been listening to us now before Christmas for a little while, but breaking the fourth wall. This is Will and I's first episode back since our Christmas break. We recorded before Christmas a little bit to get you some of that content, and I got a lightsaber for Christmas because I'm a child. That's it. There you go. Will, how was your Christmas? We can talk about this on the podcast. How was your Christmas?
I was gonna say, let's not go there, dude. We
No,
don't
not
have
go
enough time.
Sorry.
I'm not paying you enough. There's just no. It was fine. It was fine.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that we had kind of two of our best things. You had a Christmas gift. I had a Christmas gift. I'm wearing my new Ted shirt.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even notice. You finally got
There
a
we
Ted
go.
shirt. Aw,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
nice. Look at
It's
you.
a full be curious, not judgmental Ted shirt.
Aw, that's so nice.
Um,
Will got a shirt that says "Don't judge." I got a
we-
weapon to kill people.
we have. It's good. It's really the best. We are looking at episode 134 with hopes to address one more AI conversation, right? As if we could ever finish the AI conversations, but we could go for one more. My thought on this is that we're going to get into curriculum and AI. Kind of really the educational question that everybody else is dealing like Midjourney and ChatGPT. All those are asking should ChatGPT be able to write poetry using someone else's poems, right? As reference, should Midjourney be able to? Should it ethically? Is it right? Is it allowed? Is it copyright? All these questions for Midjourney to generate an image based on Van Gogh, based on a modern artist, etc. Right? The educational question is, should we be using, is it okay to use, is it effective to use AI to write curriculum? We're not, curriculum writers, authors, historians, researchers, scientists are not the ones at the forefront of things right now saying, oh, don't take my copyrighted material. And yet, we have 100+ years of modern scientific research that's all behind, scholarly paywalls where you have to subscribe to a journal or something like that to get access to, the work. So clearly they have a high value of their personal information, their copyrighted content. But is this okay? Is this something we should be trying to do? Is the copyright the big concern? Is the content and the effectiveness of the content the big concern? Big umbrella statement, big just launching topic here of curriculum and AI. Should we or shouldn't we be doing it? Right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is that good enough setup, Josh? Is there something else you would tack in there for what we're trying to prep with this conversation? Or is that really hitting it? Is it okay to generate curriculum with AI?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's hitting it. I think what we're talking about, right, is when we talk about generating with AI, I think what I think of is whether it's a teacher, instructional designer, whoever it may be, using an AI tool to help create the curriculum, to help create the content that you're working on, whether it's generating text, generating quizzes, generating content that you're providing, right? There's a lot of different ways that AI can be involved in the generation of curriculum, right? So like, Will, I mean, like off the top of your head, right, for the listener, what are some examples you could think of that are what you're thinking of when you think of curriculum being generated with AI, right? What are some practical examples you're thinking of?
Quick list, right? Anything from narrative content in your online course, right? Like if your online course is a unit and in the unit there's a quiz and some readings and whatever, like the readings are still going to go to the textbook. The quiz is something you might have written, but maybe you think, oh, let me use ChatGPT to like write the stuff in between, hey, this is why unit 1 is about the mitochondria. So you just pretty much use Wikipedia and ChatGPT to write a basic intro on mitochondria. Is that appropriate? Like, it's a scientific fact. Mitochondria are something. So we could probably rely pretty heavily on factual information like that. But if you do the same thing with maybe a narrative assessment class or an essays class or communications class, like give, you want to give the students some narrative content, teaching content about your opinion of the Dark Crusader, the Batman character, and how he's been portrayed in the last 5 AAA blockbuster movies. If you ask ChatGPT to do that, it's got to do inference. It's got to do all the like humanly things that it's going to be stealing other people's opinions to write that for you. It's not. It can't just like say, well, the Cape Crusader, the Black Knight, Dark Batman guy. Jeez, I stopped using all these different names. Batman is the best movie, right? If it's making a value statement like that, it's going to be relying on someone else who said that first. Mitochondria are scientific facts. Like we can't accept that. So ChatGPT can do better with something like that's a scientific fact as opposed to dealing with information that would have to rely on a human author's opinion to make the point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know why Will's struggling with Batman. I promise listeners he's seen the movie / heard of Batman. But the
all of them.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing I think it comes down to different levels for me, right? Of whether or not AI is okay for curriculum writing. And this is a big debate right now because we're seeing it happen in different areas. Like just to give you a practical example right now, like a tool that Will and I use on a regular basis is called Articulate 360, right? We've talked about it before in the podcast, right? Will and I have used Storyline. It's a tool that's used to create content. Another tool that's used is Articulate Rise. Ironically, as always works out with Will and I and why we're good partners in this area is Will is a bit more experienced with Storyline than I am, and I'm a bit more experienced with Rise than he is. So if you get us together, we're a whole Articulate package. But the thing with them that's interesting, I just saw this the other day. The thing with them that's very interesting is they're just now launching AI tools for Articulate Rise, where like you can plug in content and it will generate a course, right? It'll generate content and information for you and generate those pieces in here. So it's going to continue to grow, and it's going to continue to get bigger in what we're doing. So we need to consider this, right? Is it okay to take AI and use it to generate? So I think what I come down to is, are there a couple different levels to how we do this? And from my perspective, there are basically, it depends on the level of what you're using with AI, right? So like, it's not just about, is AI okay in curriculum? It's about how you use it, right? And the problem. So it's a question of like, is it okay to use an AI tool to, you got a topic and you want to generate all content for it. You want to generate written content. You want to generate questions for activities. You want to generate that stuff. Is it okay to use that? Is it okay to use AI to generate scripts for things in online courses or video content that you're producing? Is it okay to have AI help write lesson plans? You know, like this is a big question. When we're talking curriculum, we're talking a lot of different things. It's not just a simple answer of yes or no in my mind, right? There's some variable to it, is what we're doing. And so Will and I obviously are going to be able to capture all of the problems. We're not going to be able to, in a whole episode, talk about absolutely everything that could happen. I know. I mean, we're good, but we're not that good.
We should. We could do it.
Yeah, but we could do it. So, but I think at the core, what we're trying to answer here is it okay to use AI to generate curriculum content? Meaning, is it okay to take AI and maybe it starts with, you throw SLOs in and it generates activities, maybe it generates some written content for you. Is it okay to use AI to do that? Or to, I think the reverse in like a teaching section is, you have SLOs, is it okay to have AI generate lesson plans for your class, right? Like, I think at the simplest part, those are some of the things I want to talk about. When it comes to generating like video script content or generating quiz questions, Will and I have talked about some of that already on the podcast in different places. I think that's different than what you and I are talking about here, which is like generating the actual curriculum, the actual content, and the substance of what we're doing.
Right.
Is it okay to use AI to generate that stuff? So with that said, that's how I would break down the problem. Yeah. Now I do what I normally do, which is go, okay, Will, tell me the answer.
And folks, he's doing it again. Well, and so like Josh is saying, there's like levels to it. I think that there's two ways we can use ChatGPT. We can use AI to deal with this, and I think one's better than the other. So again, as we should always preface, because we never know who knows what or what, ChatGPT is a product. It is a tool by a company. It is an artificial intelligence bot, a chat bot that is using a large language model to refer to a database of content to give you an algorithmically stitched together response. Everything that ChatGPT says back to you is a quilt. It has taken pieces of different things and pieced it together and handed you a quilt. Why I say that, why I think this is important is there's two ways you can use ChatGPT when you were thinking in the context of curriculum. ChatGPT, this is how you might do it. My topic is security, right? Digital security, how to have passwords, safe passwords. That's my topic. ChatGPT, write me a lesson plan about digital security through passwords, right? Now I've told ChatGPT to go do all of the work. Go find me the content, stitch the answers together from everything it can find in the internet. The other thing you can do, though, is you can provide ChatGPT context. You could write what your opinion is about digital passwords and how to be safe with them and how to not reuse them. Don't write them down. Don't put them in obvious places. Don't use the word password. Make sure to have special characters, right? If you write that up into a big paragraph, you can put that, right? Yeah. Hey, go ahead, folks. Just hit pause, read that back. There's your lesson. You could take that narrative content that you've written, put it into ChatGPT and say, ChatGPT, with this context, write me a 10-question quiz. That is now something where ChatGPT is using your limited context, your frame of reference, to give you something that is based on your work. It may, I'm not an expert, it may still pull from or try to use the internet and other resources, but you can tell it, ChatGPT, using this paragraph, using this page of content, provide me something. And then what it's not doing, and where I believe the concern is with this overall issue, is it's not pulling the content from some random Joe Schmo on the internet's blog, right? That's what ChatGPT could be doing. It could be pulling the content from a copyrighted material, or it could be pulling the content from someone who's just not an expert. You don't know where ChatGPT is pulling the answers for you. So if you give it the context, that I think is a space where we have a lot more faith, if you will, in the work it's doing. ChatGPT, here is my doctoral dissertation on passwords and digital security.
Wow.
Use that to write me a lesson plan, right? Like, that is something you could do, and I think would be... I should have just stuck with tanks, right?
I know. Like, why did we switch
on
to passwords and security? We had such an epic class we were building, tanks, and now I kind of fell asleep because you just mentioned the dissertation on passwords and security, and if that's your dissertation, I'm really sorry. I'm sure it's great. It's not for me. That's what it comes down to. Yeah. So like, no, but like, I like that distinction, right? It's like, really what it comes down to with AI is, are you just getting content handed to you, or are you giving content and you're having AI help organize it, you're having AI help rework it into something, you're helping cut down some of the time that you would normally do as a person working in those areas. I think that's a good point, right? Is that's a good kind of clarification and separation between the two different methods, right? So like, for instance, to what Will's talking about, let's say we're writing a course on tanks. I'm bringing us back. And you're writing a course on tanks,
good,
right?
You.
And yeah, and you throw to ChatGPT, give me a lesson plan on tanks, and that's all you do. Like, and you get a lesson plan on tanks. You download that lesson plan. You use that lesson plan. You teach that lesson plan. Whatever it may be, right? You go do that. How does that end up being any different than you going on to Google and finding some random lesson plan from some website that didn't explicitly give you your permission to download that lesson plan? You do, and you go teach it. Like, as I'm saying that, most of us get uncomfortable, right? Because that's not a good idea. That's bad. Most of us would go, that's not good teaching, right? It's the same with ChatGPT. I'm not saying any teachers are out there doing that, but that might be where I'm drawing the line, right? Is like, I don't think that's okay to go and use AI tools. It's also not being transparent about what you're using, right? But now where I might change things is go, like, maybe I'm designing a course. I have SLOs. And a lot of times when you're making these online courses in Will and I's environment, one of the things you have to do is, a lot of times different people, they have different ways of doing it, but they'll do like these weekly introduction pages, right? Where like, that have kind of like descriptions of the activities during the week, kind of, they guide you through the week. It depends on kind of what you're doing. I mean, Will, you see this in your courses, right? I mean, it's not necessarily like pages per se, but you guys have like descriptions of the different lessons and modules they're jumping into, and kind of gives a breakdown, right? So like, I've seen people using AI to go, I'm going to throw in the SLOs and I'm going to ask it to break up this content into manageable chunks over eight weeks, right? Or over 8 days, or whatever, however long your course is, right? I'm going to say, break this up into that. And then they take that, they edit that, because it's not always perfect, right? So they might tweak it, they might move it around, they might change it. And they might have AI help write some of the descriptions based on content they put in. But they're along the way always editing and always working with it. That's a different thing to me, right? Because all you did was you used AI to take learning outcomes, find commonalities between words in them, basically, because that's what the AI is going to do, and try to break them up into topics, right? And then you go back, you go edit that because the AI didn't do it right. Maybe you're doing tanks and the AI saw that you mentioned cannons and I don't know anything about tanks. And masts. I don't know. Tanks don't have masts, but let's just say
all
that they
these
do.
years.
Yeah, and AI knows those are both circular items. You know, those are both poles of sorts, so they should go together. I don't know. I know nothing about what we're talking about. We know nothing about text. But AI will at times find similarities between things that probably shouldn't go together. As you, as a teacher or instructional designer, will see, well, or a subject matter expert will see, those things don't go together. They should be in these weeks, right? Like, you go edit that afterwards, right? But the AI helped you get started, right? The AI became a tool that might help bridge the gap and kind of cut down on some time. Will, would you agree that that's probably a healthy way of using AI in some curriculum design? I mean, I know it's an oversimplified version, but yeah.
Well, and yeah, what I think both of us are aiming at here is just some acceptable ways that we're using the tool to do what it does well. We're finding it is finding correlations for us between our knowledge and other points in it. We're not using it to like, if you went up to ChatGPT and said, write my course for me, wrong, like, just move on. That's not what we want to do. If you bring something to it and you say, ChatGPT, help me with this thing, that's, I think, what both of us are trying to say is a helpful guide rail to using this tool for producing curriculum, right? Mine was either, you have it use your content. Josh's is like, hey, use the SLOs and then generate an outline for you. So these are, I think, appropriate uses of the tool, especially when, after you've had ChatGPT create something for you, you go out there then and edit it and fix it and make it better. Like, ChatGPT should not be trusted at the first draft. Like, it's just like a college student. Never take the first draft. You want 2 or 3 runs before we're looking at a final draft on a paper. So I think that it's kind of one of those cautious, like, here's specifically some things to do. Try putting in your own content. Try starting from something you've already written, as opposed to just trusting it to bring the internet to you. And then make sure you're working from a limited scope and you're revising that work after you've seen it, because it's a wild tool, man. Like, when you talk about the Midjourney and the image creation, like, it'll just create funky things. You'll say, give me a picture of a fox in someone's yard, right? And the fox has 3 heads. Like, I don't know why it did that, but it did that. So if it's going to do those things with images, it could do that with your paper as well. And if you don't proofread that, there's going to be 3 foxes sitting in the middle of your paper that you're trying to deliver to your students. I'm just saying, you got to watch this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to highlight, too, as we're talking about this, I want to be very clear. ChatGPT is not the only tool, and honestly, not the first one I go to for this type of stuff. Like, Will and I have talked about the Google extension. Oh my gosh, ID Assist is an AI tool that I would go to for stuff like this. And ChatGPT wouldn't be my first run to. They're both using AI tools, but the ID Assist has SLO and learning taxonomy details integrated into the AI, so it does it much better. There's other tools. There's countless tools Will and I have talked about on this podcast now over the last season, especially in season 5, where we talked a lot about AI, from My School AI to other tools that they're doing AI stuff that branches into some of this. And I'm interested in what they're doing. I think what it comes down to is what Will is saying is, like, are you having AI just do all of it for you and then just parroting back whatever it gives you? If that's the case, then that's not a good idea. And that's why, like, when I see people showing ways they're nervous about how AI is going to get rid of teachers and designers and people like that, I don't agree. I think we all still need to be involved in that process. I think they can be tools to help shorten time, to help do things that we maybe wouldn't have done in as detailed of way because we didn't have time. In our normal day-to-day jobs, because teachers are dealing with a lot of different things, designers are dealing with a lot of different things as they're looking at doing content and designing learning experiences. I think AI can help in some of those areas. Like I mentioned Rise, where we were talking a little bit about it. Like Articulate Rise is adding AI content, but what it's doing is you can throw in a whole bunch of written content and ask it to organize it into a course, into a module of content, like throw out some ideas for activities and things like that. But then after that, you can edit it, and you absolutely should, because I haven't even used Articulate's version yet. It's not out yet, but I can guarantee you on day one, it's going to do something I don't like, because it's what most of the AI ends up doing at some point. Will's mentioning Midjourney on our team for the stuff we do in our client work. I'm the one doing all the Midjourney generation for assets, and I can tell you that thing does some crazy stuff sometimes, and adds things in the background. But if you learn how to edit it and control it, you can get some really cool stuff. I mean, we were just creating something the other day, Will, like that mall scene I had to create for something we were working on. It generated a claw on somebody's hand. You never saw it because I got it to you before I edited it. But they was trying to make a phone. If they were trying to like hold their hands together and make a phone, and it ended up generating a giant claw on this girl's hand, and it was terrifying. I had to like cut it out. That's an image example, but like the same thing, to Will's point, happens when you're generating content. It's going to do weird stuff. It doesn't know. It's not an actual teacher. No matter how much they want to do with AI, it is not going to be an actual teacher. So it's not always going to be able to take into account all the different things we are. But what I think it can do is help bridge the gap. One of the ways we're looking at maybe bridging the gap is saying, hey, could we use AI before a designer meets with a teacher or a subject matter expert? Could we use AI to throw in learning outcomes and suggest some course structure ideas? Like, could we have an AI do that? Like, suggest some course structure ideas, have an ID edit it, have an instructional designer edit that to make it more solid, but then have that so that it could generate it for them really quickly before they have a meeting with a subject matter expert they're going to meet with to build a course that students will eventually take at our college. Right? Like, we've had those conversations. Is that something we could do? Because that's something an ID never has time to do before they meet with their subject matter expert anyway. So could AI help bridge that gap a little bit for us? I think that's a practical example of where it is. I think what I'm gathering in myself, and maybe you're the same way, Will, is that it's not about whether writing curriculum with AI is okay. It's about how much should we use AI in the process. I think that's what it comes down to.
Sure. And I think, this episode title will probably be attention getting and try and pit us out against each other, pit the two ideas against each other. But like at the end of the day, what we're trying to get to is a model for you, the teacher, for faculty to use in your classrooms. You're trying to do this with your students. Do not use ChatGPT at all. This is how you use ChatGPT. Those are the two options for a faculty member right now. We're saying if you're teaching, same thing. Don't use it at all, or you have to use it well. It will mess you up. It will plagiarize. It will do weird things. You cannot trust it 100%. So find the good ways to use it. Yeah. Find the ways that will help you, that can reduce some time, that can provide you brainstorms, ideas, just examples, templates. I love what Josh is talking about there. Like, imagine if you're the faculty member, you've never taught a course before, and an instructional designer shows up with 3 different outlines that you could use, and you can pick from those outlines the best parts. At some way, and I hope folks don't take that as like, oh, that's lazy or blah, 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 blah. Like, I've had faculty show up and be like, here's my course outline, and they throw the textbook on the table. And the textbook's table of contents is their course outline. That is lazy, in my opinion. So it's like, oh yeah, you trust every element of this book to be your course? Like that. Have you read the book? Have you gone through it? Have you used it before? Have you taught from it? Like, if you don't have yeses to all of those questions, that is not doing your due diligence to know if the content you're going to teach your students is effective, is appropriate, is scaffolded helpfully, is useful. If you haven't been through it, the textbook example is no better than just ChatGPTing the answer, where you're trusting something else to put the content together for you. I hope, folks, you're hearing a model of what you can do, how you could apply this to your students, right? You may use ChatGPT if you're doing this, this, and this. That's the how. You, teacher, should use it to help you with your curriculum, to help you with writing, to help you with outlining. I know faculty members who are not good writers, not good at spelling, not good at sentence structure, not good at creative writing. It doesn't have to be everyone's skill, but they still could be an expert in mechanical engineering. I am more than happy to see that person use ChatGPT to spell check all their work, improve their writing, make it more interesting for their student, because as long as they put in the poorly written, but if a scientifically accurate information into ChatGPT, then they're fine. It's going to make it easier to read, more interesting to the student, blah, 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 blah. And then that person who now has gotten something that looks really good, reads really well, can read it and be like, oh, wow, that sounds great. And it's accurate. The faculty member is still the one checking it to say it's legitimate. It's real information and not like three foxes or a fox with three heads. So we have the options. We have what we can do here. And I think that these are ways like some of these things, some of these considerations Josh and I are offering are also because of the limitations of AI today, that we still don't trust it. It still messes up. It's still using Joe Schmo's blog from the internet, right? Like if it gets better, or if somebody comes up with a product like My School AI, Magic School AI, these products that are coming out to try and make AI more education centric, good. It's going to get better. It's going to be easier. Find the ways to use those tools to make your teaching better and better and better. That's why Josh and I do this podcast. We want education and technology to marry well, to come together so that folks can use this to improve their teaching practices, use this to improve what they're delivering to their students, use this to improve education broadly, right? So give it a shot. Try it. Our episode here is just what not to do in one sense while you're trying to do the curriculum generation.
Yeah. And I would say, like,
Yeah.
just as before we transition, just a few tips of like what I've seen and what I've been playing around with, right? Is like Will mentioned, if the spell check and organization's not your strong suit when writing out content, like that's a great way to use AI. Write out the stuff that you know is valuable, that is factual, that is good information that your students need to know. And absolutely feel free to use, I think, AI to help improve the writing, make it better. Those areas, I know people who balk at that stuff or look at that and they're like, that's, how are you an academic if you don't? But some people aren't academics and they're just there teaching their content. And they're trying to make sure students know it. And I think tools like this could be helpful in those areas. An example I saw another instructor do a little while ago was they didn't use it to help write a bunch of the curriculum, but they got a lot of their lesson planning out of the way. And then they were running out of time, so they used AI to help write some formative questions that they could use each class to kind of build some kind of like formative recall throughout the course, right? And so they used AI to build those questions.
Yeah.
That was a great example.
Was that you, Josh?
No, it was not me. I mean, I did use AI in my course at one point to write some stuff, but formative recall is something I did not do as much as I should have in my current course. That would be the version, my next version of my course that I would probably leverage. That's how that conversation came up, though. Was we were talking about that, and that's what I saw. And I've seen some other people share similar stuff. Right? I think it's finding those cracks that AI can come into to help assist you in bringing stuff. And Will and I have talked about this podcast is not about that tool. We've talked about this tool before, and maybe Will can find it as I'm killing time, or I can find it as I'm killing time. But ID Assist is another tool that is super helpful as you're looking at it. So if you're ever looking for that, for an AI tool that can be helpful in content and what you're doing, ID Assist is a tool that we've talked about on the podcast before. That's an AI tool that can be very helpful in that area as well. So I think there's a lot of different ways. I think give it a try. But again, I think let's be honest about what we're doing and not have it just write everything. I am uncomfortable with some of the teachers posting that they had AI literally just write their lesson plan for the week. I'm not cool with that. I got to be honest. There's some stuff that I think I'm cool with that if it writes it and you do a whole bunch of editing afterwards and you bring that human touch to it. But if you're just dropping lesson plans straight from AI and teaching those, then I do have some problems with that and have some thoughts about it. Yeah.
All right, folks, that's a pretty good sense for where we are. This might be a shorter week. No offense. It's just where we are. Hopefully you can roll the ride the wave with us. I don't know. I'll shut up. So the next part of our episode is going to be I don't know, dude. It's just trying. I'm just trying to transition to the next subject. Our app for this episode, ironically, wonderfully, is called Diffit.me. That's the website, Diffit.me, Diffit.me. And I think it's meant to be a play on like differentiation, but it's about literally anything. Select a topic. It's about reading comprehension, literary texts, that kind of stuff. But you select a topic, you type in something like Abraham Lincoln, tanks, right? Maybe to go for tanks. Then you choose an appropriate reading level. You choose the language. They have a number of languages supported. And then you click generate resources. Now, what I love about this is I'm going to follow through with tanks. I'm going to go for, let's say, 11th grade reading level, and I'll hit generate resources, let that roll in the background. It's now using AI and all whatever the fun things it does to pull together ideas for me. Now, it's not just ideas. There's going to be some activity options. There's going to be some narrative content. There's going to be prompts. There's going to be formative questions. Like it's pretty cool that it can pull together as much as it does. And mostly for free. I forget they have some sort of freemium setup. Yeah, I have to log in here to get more of the resources. But right away, it does an adapted reading passage. It has a summary, including tanks are powerful armed vehicles used in ground combat. Josh, that is the smartest thing we have ever said on this podcast about tanks, frankly. Right?
100%.
They have heavy firepower, strong armor, and good mobility on the battlefield. Again, the second most intelligent thing we've ever said on this podcast about tanks. It provides us key vocabulary words, including armored, firepower, reliability, infantry, salvaged, right? It has generated all of this. Josh and I are dying, guys. This is too much. It's generated all of this just by putting in the word tanks and selecting my reading level. It provided some multiple choice questions for me, some short answer questions, some open-ended prompts. And then it goes further. It says that you can get into student activities. I bet that's where you have to start paying up or sign up and do that kind of stuff. But this is a fantastic starting point. If I wanted to do an episode of the Hitech Podcast about tanks, I'm putting it into Diffit.me, and we're going to teach from Diffit.me to get us started on what tanks are actually about. Not the usual nonsense that we get into when it comes to talking about Tanks 101, the Hitech Podcast course du jour. Now, that's just one tanks thing. You can put in any topic. You can go for different languages. If I take that same tanks lesson, pop it on down to a 5th grade reading level, I can regenerate the whole thing. It's going to truncate and adjust it to a reading comprehension level of a 5th grader. That's the benefit. And it's I'm doing this live, folks. I just hit the button a few seconds ago. I'm going to let it churn and burn in the background. Then I'll turn when I'm ready and have the content to go to tell you a little bit about what it's changing. So now the first sentence in the adapted reading page is tanks are big, strong vehicles that are used in battle. If that sounds familiar to what I just read a moment ago for the 11th grade reading level, it changed the words though to big, strong, used in battle, right? Instead of armored and infantry and reliable, right? It's changed the language to be age appropriate. They have powerful engines and tracks to move over rough terrain, right? It's simplified the language down into something that is easier to understand. Easy peasy. And I'm just doing this for free. I'm just clicking away. You log in, you can get more, and then there's some sort of, freemium setup to pay to get unlimited and all that kind of stuff. But I really like this as a starting point. And again, it's one of these. Go ahead.
I'd like to point out that even the 5th grade reading level of tanks was still smarter than anything we've said about tanks in this entire podcast.
Fact.
Like Will and I are not even on 5th grade level. In case you were curious, I was testing while Will was doing this as well. If you type in lightsabers, it gives great content on teaching lightsabers. So just in case anybody was curious, lightsabers are fictional energy swords featured in the Star Wars franchise. They're depicted as luminescent laser swords emitted from a metal hilt. It's just that's beautiful. That's it. That's all I wanted to add. That's further context.
That's gold. Full circle in the episode. I love that. Here's an example, folks. We're looking at a tool that is built to be educational, and then is using AI in the background. Now I had to. Josh, I had to. You're not even ready. You might now be getting on to what I finally had to do, but if I type in Ted Lasso, it'll even give me an adapted reading passage about my favorite TV show and religion. Ted Lasso is an American sports comedy drama television series that premiered on Apple TV Plus on August 14th, 2020. Ted Lasso is an American sports comedy drama. The show follows the story of Ted. It has key vocabulary words, multiple choice questions. Who is the main character of the television series Ted Lasso? But it's not just character. It's actually a poorly written question, right? So here's a good example, folks. It says, who is the main character of the television series Ted Lasso? Well, the main character of the television series Ted Lasso is Ted Lasso. The options are the names of the actors. So that question should be, who is the actor of the main character of the series Ted Lasso, right? And then the answer would be Jason Sudeikis. But the question is not correct. When did the second season of Ted Lasso premiere? Okay, irrelevant. Not a useful question to ask, but it does have the facts. And then some short answer and whatever. So it can get as serious as Ted Lasso, or excuse me, as serious as Abraham Lincoln, World War II, whatever, or as ridiculous as lightsabers, tanks, and Ted Lasso. That is going to be the subtitle to my memoir: Tanks, Lightsabers, and Ted Lasso. Called it. Dibs.
That's amazing. I love that.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. We've got Diffit. We've had a fun run with this episode. Full disclosure, folks, this episode might never even see the light of day. We've had so many technical issues with this episode, but we've done our best. This is just another season of the Hitech Podcast, having a lot of fun. We're wrapping down here. Episode 134. We have an exciting set of episodes coming for you. The problem is we don't know what they are yet. Soon enough, Josh and I are headed down to FETC, a very big educational technology conference. Very exciting in Florida. We're going to be recording a ton of live content with teachers, ed tech, and all sorts of things while we're at the conference. And that is going to be the content for episodes 135 through like 139 or something. We can't plan for it yet. You'll just have to roll with the punches. Watch us on YouTube. We're going to have shorts and we'll be posting all over the place about what we're doing, who we're meeting, what's going on at the conference. But look forward to your usual weekly posts on Tuesdays of episodes going out through your podcasting tools or the regular YouTube channel. So that's episode 135 and what you can expect for the next coming weeks. Anything else on FETC? Is there fun things or interesting things that we need to mention?
Yeah, I mean, other than just mentioning to edit one thing Will said, by the time you were listening to this episode on January 30th, many of our YouTube shorts will have already been posted from FETC. So if you're listening to this episode and you did not listen to them or did not check them out, don't worry. Yeah, go back and watch them. Go check us out on YouTube at Hitech Podcast and go to our short section, and you can live through FETC with Will and I in the shorts. And I do mean it. If you haven't listened, go check it out, please, because Will and I are actually going to the whole conference. We went to ISTE this past year. We only went for a day, so we released some content, but not a ton. Will and I are going for the whole week at FETC this year, and which means Will and I are completely podcast focused for that entire week. So you will be seeing a lot of YouTube short content and other content coming from Will and I that week, because we're going to be having a lot more fun and a lot more time on our hands at this conference than we did at the last one we went to.
That's it. You've got it. Thank you for fact checking me. So it hasn't yet happened as we record this, and by the time you hear it, it will already have happened. Perfect. That's just the Hitech Podcast vibe, my friends. Find us, as always, on Twitter, YouTube at Hitech Podcast. Email us, inbox at hitechpod.us. Honestly, I have 6 unread messages right now. I'm so excited you are using that, reaching out to us, finding us. We love getting more folks involved, building this community. So please do email us your ideas if you want to come on the podcast, if you know someone, if you want to sponsor the podcast. We're now offering sponsored options, so we would love to have engagements with folks at a paid level so that we can provide more content, more ideas, more fun stuff to you. Maybe buy another lightsaber for the podcast. Who knows what we're going to do. Find all of our content. Every single episode has an episode page at hitechpod.us. That's our website. Please share those pages with other people. It'll help them get started with something like diffit.me or any of the ed tech tools we've talked about in our 134 episodes. Thank you again for joining us for another week as we continue to learn what it looks like to harness technology in the classroom, whether online or in person. See ya.
See ya.